This is the moment we waited for. Everything you want is right here. We gon' give them what they came for.
I wish I had 65 grand just to buy a sick head right now.
It's very interesting.
That's
Anyways,
the problem with stuff in the cinema world, and I think people don't put into perspective is how much money camera equipment is and how much it costs to like do camera things.
Oh yeah.
because it's so specialized, you know? Everything we do is specialized.
Mm-hmm. It is, but like when people say like, oh, I'm gonna buy a house, I have to save up my down payment of like 20-30 grand, and then you're over here showing me a head that's 65 grand, it's just like, that's 2 houses for some people.
Well, that's 2 down payments.
2 down payments to live in a house.
So
yeah.
if you want to put it in that perspective, that's nothing.
I get
You're a big
whatever's
baller,
your
Charles.
perspective.
On a $500,000 home, you know?
Yeah, but you could rent one out, offset your mortgage on the other, and now you're chilling, dude.
Yeah.
No, it's just crazy to me, like, yeah, how expensive camera equipment is and how it's just totally justified. We look at something, we're like, oh, 40 grand, yeah, that's not horrible.
Oh, I mean, for what it does, like it's, you know,
300,000 for some S7s, yeah, it's not bad.
Whatever. Yeah, I spent $250 on HDMI cables the other day setting up my brother's studio.
Ooh.
It was 2 cables, but I needed 4K and I needed 25 feet, so it cost me like $250.
That's the thing.
That's the reality of it. Sometimes people don't like. I remember when I got my first camera, I was like, "Oh, that was I don't know, like $1,000." I remember it was my first like trainer Sony camera. I was like, "This is sick," and then I started looking into lenses. I was like, lenses cost more than cameras.
Yep.
And like that was for a regular ass APS-C like 18 to 50 like 3.5 millimeter piece of shit lens.
Yeah.
We're talking about good quality cinema glass. Like, yeah, I remember when I was at Enigma and Kate's like, yeah, those are the 7 tri Blackwing blah blah blahs whatever. I was like, oh, these are cool. Yeah, whatever. It's like, yeah, those are like $100,000 each. Whatever. Like, it's just like, yeah, like there's a lot of money that goes into this. I don't think you really know it until you start peeling the layers back.
Oh yeah, what was that huge lens we had on
the Optimo.
Optimo?
Yeah, the 12X.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
And it's like, what is it, like 200 grand or something?
Dude, that guy's got to be at least 200 grand.
It
You
was
should look it up.
It was crazy, but I just remember being on set when we were shooting with it, and I'm just like running down a hill with it. I'm like, yeah, I'm
Isn't
just
that like
holding 200 grand.
I think of an
More than that,
Instagram
dude,
picture
'cause
of
the
you,
lens is
right? Where you're like
200
carrying
grand.
that thing, you're like, hey.
The camera body's $100,000.
Yeah, I'm
You know
just
what I mean?
running
Like,
around with $500,000.
Exactly.
Literally.
Yeah.
And sometimes we're rigging it over like sketchy stuff or doing some rigs with it where it's like, how am I being trusted with 500 grand hanging over like a human right now?
But then there's some people that aren't safe enough. Like, have you seen this video where like I don't remember what the fucking context was. It was like some guy like running or whatever, and he like trips and falls, and they set up the camera rig with like an Arri, I think it was a mini LF, and like probably the Arri Prime glass on it, and they just push the camera over onto like a crash pad.
Oh, yeah.
To try and like match the
yeah.
movement.
Yeah,
and I was
yeah.
like, I see how this could have been done way more safe than just pushing an Arri onto a crash pad like a bad rock climber.
Like
but
actually build a rig.
yeah,
for
yeah,
it
actually make an angle
instead of
turn
just
instead of
throw
like,
it
oh,
onto a
well, it'll be
pillow.
fine. Like,
Which
yeah, I
is
hope
why
the
you
rental
have
house didn't see that video.
Insurance, and you rent it.
Well, let's be honest. If it weren't for those people, we wouldn't get viral camera videos like
That's
the
true.
Ronin that swung off
Oh,
the
yeah.
arm after like or hit a street sign or
Yeah,
something.
Yeah.
yeah.
Just goes flying.
Shout out to those guys.
In China, actually, is, yeah.
Could you imagine being that AC or first AC's fault essentially?
No, it's the pursuit cars.
pursuit car and the
fault.
driver. Yeah,
Yeah.
whoever's controlling the arm in the pursuit car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the first AC, I would say,
The
like
motion
should
turn.
have an eye on their camera.
Yeah,
but
I would say it was the driver's fault for being too close to the edge of the road.
Pole, yeah.
there's that, yeah. But I would just hate being in that situation. I guess me as a first, I would take fault myself and beat myself up for that situation happening in general. But gosh, could you imagine? I bet
Yeah.
everybody there in that area like knows that person who did it.
100%.
It's interesting because like there's obviously this courtesy that you guys have set up on set where like say Scooter's a little soft on a focus. You're not going to tell the director, okay, we'll do another take for Scooter. You're going to say
Some
we're going to
people
do
do
another
that.
take for camera.
Yeah.
Right? You're kind of going to take the blame as a team a little bit as you know to
Yeah.
handle that so that you're not necessarily
Nothing.
throwing
I
someone
just
under
got to
the
say
bus
this:
or kinda
nothing's
thing.
worse than
But-
that person who throws their team under the bus.
Yeah.
And they're
Yeah.
like, Charles, fix your camera angle, and you're like, now the actors know it was like you who messed it up, and they had to
Right,
go
so
again. You're
camera,
like,
whatever, change that angle. Yeah.
Yeah, I always say that like camera needs another one or
Right. But
Show
when
us
it comes,
it,
but
yeah.
what does it happen when someone on camera makes a big mistake, makes a fucky wucky, and drops a lens or breaks something
So
serious,
we
then
actually-
does that individual take the blame, or does the camera team do that in this sense?
So we actually had that happen. We were on a movie, and long story short, there was miscommunication. One AC was setting up the camera and then got pulled away, and the other AC came up and finished the camera. And at one point, there was a P-tap that went into the fizz, and then the fizz
Oh, you
back to
backfed-
another P-tap.
You backfed power back into the camera.
And it passed through back into the
Yeah.
camera and fried the camera. And essentially, two people did the same step.
They rigged it the same. Oh, okay, yeah,
And
yeah.
so both ACs got together, found the problem, went to the DP, and then the DP communicated with the ACs. And essentially, that's why you have insurance. So, like, at the
Yeah.
end of the day, nobody's going, you're fired, go home. You know, mistakes happen. We found the mistake. We contacted the rental house. We got a new camera. I don't think we got one for that day. I think we
Yeah.
were able to get it the next day. And it is what it is. We shot with one camera the rest of the day. And, I mean, shout out to our DP. No one was, like, yelling. No one was angry. It was like we worked as a team, but whoever was accountable, like, kind of took the forefront of fixing the problem. So that was a scary moment, though,
I can
dude.
imagine, yeah.
I was like,
Yeah, it's just a camera. Whatever.
luckily it wasn't me. I wasn't one of the two. But yeah, that was a bad situation. I was like, holy shit.
Well, I mean, Charles, you bring up, sorry to cut you off, but Charles, you bring up a really good point. You said it's just a camera. Like, I've heard that from clients. I was like, it's a tool. Are you going to be mad if you got dirt in your hammer? That's what hammers are for. They're for freaking hitting nails. Like, that's what it's supposed to do. And so, yeah, and I've heard, like, kind of that theology from a lot of camera people as well. It's like, it's a tool. Put it through what it's got to fucking whatever. You're going to put a Clorox wipe on your drill every time you're done? Like,
Right.
no, you know, and there's some things that obviously, if you're not careful, you can cause damage. You can get or sand in between the glass or the sensor. Like, you have to be careful, obviously. But to some degree, it's like, yeah, if you're too careful, you're holding back from using the tool how it's supposed to.
No, exactly, and that's kind of had like you have to have that realization. It's like, yeah, it's an expensive tool, and you try to take care of it and clean it, and treat it the best you can because that's what's making you money, right? But like, I feel like a lot of people like idolize the tool, for. But and the reality of it is, it's like, yeah, you spend a lot of money to buy it, but like in the end, like you said, it's a hammer. Like you're gonna use it, and it's gonna get dirty, and it's gonna get banged up, and at the end of the day, like you still have to take care of it and clean it and make sure you get all the dirt off of it, so it's not gonna rust. But like it's still a tool,
Yeah.
Like
No, I'm the worst at that. Have you seen my truck? I've had it for like a year, and it looks like it's 10 years old. I use my stuff. But no, it brings
it's called
up
neglect, Scooter.
no, it
That's
brings up a good
neglect.
point though. Like when I was working with Sawyer in LA, when he was teaching me a lot, he would always say, like with DSLRs and lenses, put that lens in the
Lens
dirt.
cap on.
Put
Yep.
that camera against the wall, like set it on the cement, like use the camera. Don't ever like idolize the equipment to the point where you're not getting what you want out of it. And as soon as I realized that, like my first like 1DX, like the paint was completely stripped off the side. Like my first 24 to 70, I completely bent in the front where you couldn't slide anything on the
Hell
threads. And like I beat the shit out of it, but it was like the best experience I've had with that camera because I was like putting it into environments.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever broke a camera?
Like a cinema
Like
camera
using
or a DSLR?
Just
or?
like using it in its environment, like pushing the edge and just broke it.
Not from anything that I've done. Just like
Knock on wood.
I've got stories.
just like user error things, where you like fry a limo port or
You've
Something
never
like that.
been doing something like slipped off a rock and slammed it into the wall or something?
I was on a show. No, and it didn't break the
Or
camera.
any
But
glass or anything like
I was
that.
on a show a couple years ago operating, and we were doing like car stuff, and we were on a process trailer, and we were going up. I say process trailer, but it was just a trailer with a car on
With
it.
some ratchet straps?
Yep. And we were going over some railroad tracks, and I was like sitting in the front seat like this, looking at the back seat.
Mhm.
So my back is to the front windshield.
Oh, I know what's happening.
Yeah. Camera on my shoulder like this, filming actors, bunch of kids in the car. And then we go over the railroad tracks, and what's the jack with the wheel on it, on the trailer? I don't know what that's called.
jack with the wheel on it?
Yeah, you know when you like drop the jack so you can like
Oh, to like
Oh,
get
the
it up
hitch
and down.
thing?
yeah,
Yeah.
like
To release the hitch.
yeah. So somebody wasn't paying attention. That wasn't up all the way, and it caught on the railroad tracks, and it like stopped us. It was like bad, and so like
You got
that
clotheslined,
motion,
basically.
dude. Like I like slammed the camera into the front windshield. The front windshield just exploded, like just gone, right? And I was like looking at the camera to make sure that nothing happened to it, but like nothing did because luckily it's
How was your back?
in a cage. You
Was
know?
that against the steering wheel?
No, I was in the passenger seat, so it was the
And obviously
You're in the
airbags
wind
didn't
test.
go off because there was no impact, right?
no impact. Yeah,
Damn.
you know, but the camera was fine. Just the new front windshield for the car. That's all.
I've seen cameras take a beating on some stuff where you're like,
Dude,
how?
I've seen Alexas like go fully underwater in the ocean and in pools.
Yeah.
You know, like I've seen it happen in my like, oh my gosh, get the camera, grab the camera, make sure you know
Put it in rice.
shut it down, legitimately like shove it in rice, let it sit for a night, fire it back up.
What
go.
the fuck?
I mean,
go.
essentially, if the water
Yeah.
doesn't touch the boards,
Yeah.
and most of the boards are covered with like a silicone, it's, you know, it's kind of like FPV drones. Like, if you dry it out and nothing's wet, it should work.
Yeah,
It's cool.
yeah,
As
it's
your
crazy.
circuits don't get fried. Dang, that's crazy.
On
Yeah,
those
and, like,
bigger cameras,
water.
Yeah.
on like a Sony, like a
Hard to say.
point and shoot, or like a Canon DSLR. Like I don't know. I mean, I guess those bodies are water sealed.
one way
right?
to
I was
find
about
out.
to say
Yeah.
the 1DX series, which I shoot on, is like essentially really water resistant. It's not waterproof, but like I've had that thing in complete rainstorms all
Yeah.
day, just holding it out, like shooting nitro events with razors coming by, splashing mud on the camera. Literally take a water bottle and pour it over because all the buttons and everything are sealed on them.
Yeah, it's a sealed body.
So I'll put a water bottle over. Oh, when we were shooting Albania,
Yeah,
it was raining on us sideways every day, and I just had the camera out, and then I just kept lens wipes with me and would just wipe the lens, but it
Yeah.
got soaked.
I feel like as like camera dudes, like we always try to take care of it as best we can. You know, we get cappots out and try to cover the cameras and keep everything like as
weather.
as waterproofed and weather resistant as we can. But like the reality of it is like they build those things to like take a beating and to like last, and
Especially cinema bodies. Like,
Yeah.
they know they're worked for hundreds of hours on multiple shows or series.
in all kind of weather conditions. And so it's like, yeah, we still need to take care of them because it's your gear and you want to try to make it last as long as you can. But when it comes down to it, like they're tanks, like they're pretty beefy.
I wonder what the highest hours of runtime are on like a area or something. Like
That's a good question. That'd be
like one
interesting
that's
to hear.
still working. That like
Shout out, drop it in the comments.
Yeah, if you know it.
If you know, or
That'd be cool.
you know, what's the longest hours that you've seen on a camera? That's interesting.
I will admit, we can call Picture Line. Shout out Berkeley at Picture Line, but it's a camera shop here in Utah. I had the highest shutter count on my 1DX Mark II
Yeah.
when I traded in for my Mark III. I had the highest shutter count they've ever seen on a 1DX camera in their store ever.
Do you
Oh,
remember
that's
what it
And
was?
I was, I want to say, because it maxes out after 10 million, like it doesn't do anymore. But I want to say it was like 4.9 million on the shutter count.
Dude.
It was like-
Dang,
That's
Pretty crazy.
Scooter likes to push that button.
well, and
Give me a button.
it's action sports, and I shot nitro circuits for years. But that shutter count, like,
Yeah,
like-
Oh, yeah, because it was one of the first with, like, that burst fire. Right?
Yeah,
So
so
you
you
really
just-
riding that
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
That's fun.
I shot X Games for years. It was just, yeah.
Well, everybody, welcome to another Happy Rabbit podcast.
We're
if
in
you
it.
can't tell, today we're talking about gear and equipment, and we're gonna kind of focus it more in onto like new things that are coming out as we have NABs next week, and there's been a lot of gear announcements.
Are we going to NAB?
No,
No, we're not.
we're not gonna NAB.
We
this
went
year.
last year. We're not going this year. We got some work stuff coming up. We couldn't make it happen.
Yeah.
But we wish we could be there. So if you're going, send us videos, make us jealous. Post on our Instagram how fun it is.
Tell us all the cool things that we missed
Photoshop
out
us
on.
into your selfies. So
Tell
that
us
we
what
feel
we're
like we
missing
were
out
there.
on,
for
because
sure.
personally I'm depressed that I'm not going.
But with that, there has been quite a few gear announcements that have been made over the last couple days.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you guys have seen? There actually hasn't been that many.
The,
Yeah, it's
Inspi-
really
the
like
Inspire
3.
4 is badass.
Inspire 4?
You guys
Bro, I didn't see that. What?
I'm just
Scooters.
kidding.
Oh my god.
I'm just
this
messing with you
asshole,
guys.
Bro.
No, they better give the Inspire 3
Bro, the
like
Airy
5 years.
45? Oh, shit.
No, there are some cool things coming out though.
Yeah. What I really saw that I was interested in is Insta360 is dropping a 8K pocket camera tomorrow. I think it's tomorrow is when they
so
release
when
it.
this podcast
Comes out.
Comes out, you'll definitely already have more deets than I can currently give you, which is awesome. I think it'll probably be an X4 based on where
Give
they've
us
been
what you
changing
think
their
it's
models.
gonna be. Give us your prediction. We'll see how close you are.
Yeah, dude. So I definitely think it'll be part of the X4 series. The like RS is kind of their more like interchangeable lens type cameras.
Okay.
Those are really goofy. A
What
lot
do
of
you mean?
people.
What do you
The
mean
square one.
interchangeable
Is that the
lens?
square
Yeah,
one?
they have a square one that looks a lot like a GoPro, but
Yeah.
then they have one that's like a vertical version
That's
that
what I
they
have.
combined with Leica. It has
I
Leica
don't have that.
lenses.
You don't
Yeah,
have-
you don't
it
have
has
that
a
one. You have an
removable
X3.
top.
Yeah,
I didn't know there were so many versions.
there's quite a
Yeah,
few
there's
different
quite a
versions
few.
of their cameras, depending on what your needs are. Yeah, and so, anyways, I think that this new camera, it's 8K. It'll likely be an X4. It'll be in the X series of cameras instead of like the RS series of cameras.
Is that more user friendly or more in depth?
way more user friendly.
Okay.
Yeah, like I would say the RS are great, but they have like smaller camera, like or smaller battery life, or like they only accept like 64 gigabyte SD cards, but you can get 6K out of
So the
them.
one
So
that's
it's, like,
coming out is
just
it like
give and
what
take.
Charles runs on the end of his Trinity and all
Yeah,
that?
yeah,
Okay.
it's a lot more like that. And
So are
honestly,
you gonna buy one?
Probably.
probably
Can I buy your old one?
Yeah.
Sick.
the X3. Man, needs another X3. I think it will probably, in my honest opinion, it's probably not true 8K. It's probably 5.7, maybe even 6K with an AI upscaling to get you the rest of the way there.
We're talking 360. Sorry, I'm gonna kind of jump back to our 360 video, but is this monoscope or?
Good clarification. This is a monoscopic camera.
Okay.
Yeah, this is not a camera that's used to be filming content for VR. This is
Copy.
definitely
So when
just
they
for
say
reframe.
8K, it's not like to put 8K in your goggles.
Right.
It's to put an 8K like what you see on
Reframe.
Instagram,
Yeah.
reframe, do all
See,
the
I've
cool
actually
angles.
wondered that with like my Insta360 right now, like because it says it's 5.7K, right?
Mhm.
And is that like 3.5 on this lens and 3.5 on this lens, and then they combine
Yeah,
it together,
yeah.
so like the whole world is
Right, your overall,
5.7K?
yes, exactly. Your overall, like your equirectangular is what they call that, your actual total scope of your shot.
Yeah.
That is going to be 5.7K.
Okay.
Yeah, so like for me on my current 8K camera, when I shoot that for VR, that boils itself down to 4K per eye.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your camera, the one you brought in, that is used for more goggle approach. This one coming out is used for more social media approach.
Exactly.
Copy.
Exactly.
And
Yeah,
there's
this
only
one's
So
two
it'd
lenses
be
on
more
this
like 4K lens that way and a 4K lens this way,
Just
and
like
then
that.
combined.
combined to make a full
We're
8K
in
image,
8K world.
which is actually really impressive. If that's how that works, that's super sick.
Does that bum you out that you spent all that money on the 8K one?
No.
Because they're different.
Because they're different use cases. Yeah,
Okay.
mine is still perfect for virtual reality and for making content for a headset. Whereas this one will not be good for VR content. It's only monoscopic, so you won't get a sense of depth with that footage.
And then I'm taking it you're buying one too then.
I will likely buy one. Yeah, I'm definitely interested
That's
in
what he
them.
does, he has to.
I was like, yeah, you're the
Yeah.
360 dude.
The
If you
360
don't
guy,
own
I
one,
gotta have
if
one.
Charles owns one before you, he may be the new 360 guy, dude.
Take his Trinity. But no, what's nice about I really appreciate that because
It's in LA right now. You can't take it.
I'll go down there and get it. But like the 5.7K is dope, but you've probably found this. You can pan around your shot just fine, but the minute you try to zoom in on something inside of your shot, you're fucked. Because
Yeah,
it's
it
like
gets
just
jumbled
not,
like real fast. You start to see the muddy pixels real fast.
quickly. So
Yeah.
8K, an 8K boost on this style of camera is deeply needed.
That's gonna be
deeply
cool.
needed.
The other
It's gonna
thing
be
I
really
wish
cool.
that they would do is better low light capability. I know in the
Awesome.
what do I
The
have?
one
The
end.
360 One X3.
3. Mhm.
When that one came out, like they said that they helped the low end light.
Yeah.
Which they did. It was a huge difference
Went
between
from a
the
half
2 and
inch
the 3.
sensor to 3/4 inch sensor.
Yeah, but I wish that he was even better because like sometimes when I'm like recording myself doing the Trinity stuff and we're at night or it's a nighttime shoot or
Mhm.
whatever, you know, dude, like it's garbage.
Yep.
It's like absolute garbage. And I'm like, dude, unless you're like in a daytime scenario, that's like really the only thing that these things are good for is
Yeah.
like the daytime stuff.
Yeah, they have a really hard time when it comes to less than ideal lighting. And so
Yeah.
hopefully that 8K resolution will give them some more wiggle room to work with. But that's going back to some of the other models. The RS, the one with the Leica lens, that one has a 1-inch sensor. So that one
Okay.
does do a lot better in low light than some of the other ones, but you sacrifice user friendliness on it.
And
'Cause
it's
in order
huge,
to, yeah, it's
too.
huge.
It's-
Yeah,
it's
to get to the
big.
SD card, you have to like, and then like take it like a little. You like put it together like Legos.
I don't
It's
want
a
that.
weird camera.
I like
Yeah.
the GoPro style of shooting where it's
Yeah.
like, boop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to think about it,
Yeah.
especially with that style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true. The GoPro Max
So
is good
we'll
for
see.
that too. But yeah,
Yeah.
like I said, like we talked about
What,
my videos.
I was about
every
to say,
flavor.
what do you think's better, the GoPro Max or the Insta360? I guess the new version's probably going to.
Yeah, exactly. Is Insta360 is constantly making new innovations in their tech, whereas like the GoPro Max is like an 8-year-old camera, and it's not had any software updates on it since it came out. And so, like I said, if you're a GoPro person, you already prefer GoPro, you've been using them since the Hero 1 came out, just buy the Max. You'll already integrate into that system pretty well.
The Hero 1, man.
Dude,
Yeah.
I had one. I mounted a
I
Hero
did
1
too.
on an Inspire to put a. Or that's when they had the kit. You had to
Yeah.
buy the
Oh,
kit
yeah.
to make your
Yep.
own freaking
Yep.
drone.
Dude, I had every version of GoPro up until like 6. I feel like.
I have had it. Oh, this is going to be bad. I think I've had every version of GoPro
Yeah.
because I have one of the newest ones.
You have the
Oh,
12.
do you really?
Yeah, no, there's a 12?
There's a 12.
Yeah, dude. That's
Well,
what I'm saying. They come
okay.
out with one every year.
That's BS. It's like every 6 months, dude. I
Yeah.
just I just bought the 11 like at Costco not long ago.
Yeah, no, it's 30.
Yeah, that's why I stopped buying them, is because
Yeah.
they like come out with them every
But they're
year.
iPhone improvements. They're
Yeah.
like, cool, now you can do a selfie cam. It's
Yeah.
like basic ass shit you've already been able to do, but now you can do it a little bit better. Here's 2 extra bits in your color.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm
yeah.
gonna be
Like-
honest. Like I haven't even used it. Like when we did Nitro Circus, we used all theirs and
Yeah.
everything. Like I'm not pulling mine out to get beat up.
Yeah.
And like I don't even think I've used it since we.
No, and that's why I stopped buying them too, is because it's like that. Now you have this guy right here, which basically does the same thing.
Yeah.
It's about as small. You can mount it in just about as many weird
Yeah.
places. Maybe not as comfortable to wear on your chest or head,
For
but
sure.
it's about it.
One thing we should
or I'm
think
using my
about, though,
360 camera because
that,
then I can reframe.
100%. I'm getting more options for the same amount of time, the
Yeah.
same positioning.
Costs the same.
Yep,
like-
100%.
One
Yeah.
thing we should think about though is with the GoPro, we should do more BTS shots of when we're on set.
Oh, yeah.
And just like stick it somewhere.
It's great
and
for
hit
time
record.
lapses,
Totally.
set and forget
And
it
get
type
more.
stuff.
Yeah.
But
We need to
then
be better
again,
at that.
I'm gonna say the 360 camera.
Too, because now you can do a time lapse and you can have movement inside of your time lapse. 'Cause
Okay,
you can
but-
reframe a pan
Yeah.
while your time is
Let's
going
talk about
300x.
this. It's fisheye on both sides, and if
It
you're
flattens itself out in the software.
so you can say like I want it to be like a 35.
Yeah.
You can pull out the curve.
You guys are acting all cool, like yeah.
I do it on all my videos, dude.
Yeah, you can do that. You didn't know? No, I didn't. Okay. All right, we'll use the 360.
Get up with technology.
I'll sell my
scooter.
GoPro.
But that's the
Sucking
only. That's the
2000.
only. That's
I
the
am.
only bit
I'm
of
stuck
NAB.
in 2016 with cameras. I am.
That's
Ugh.
true. Look at this guy. So that's the only bit of NAB tech I know a lot about that's around the corner. I've heard rumors that DJI's been cooking up. I feel like they never turn their kitchen off. You know what I mean? They've always got something
They
going
got
on.
the old fizz unit coming out. Yeah.
They do have their fizz and a new LiDAR system to go along with it.
I was noticing.
Let's chat about that.
It's USB-C.
USB-C.
Which, wait, hold up, rewind. V-Raptor has a USB-C port on it.
Yeah, it does for software updates.
Does it pass through power and info?
It does.
It does. Okay.
So
okay,
essentially,
the reason
that
why-
unit would work with the V-Raptor.
It would.
Would it though?
Yes.
I don't know if it would.
I mean, at least the Raptor that I used, I don't know about the Raptor X, but when I had my hands on the Raptor from Enigma, we could absolutely use that USB-C for pass-through power.
Sick, dude.
So essentially, because same thing as you. As soon as I saw USB-C, I was like, dumb.
Get it out.
Well,
of
but
here.
it
even
still
more
is
dumb.
because here's the thing though. It's so the USB-C port on the V-Raptor sticks out the back, right?
Yep.
If I am like say filming in the bushes, which is not weird, but filming in the bushes and I turn around and that cable gets caught on a branch.
If you had a
and it
good
gets pulled
AC,
out,
he's gonna tuck that cable in.
I would say, but wouldn't that be a problem if it's a
I got
D-tap
you.
or a 2-pin anyways? You're going to have a cable.
no, they're locked.
But
it's locked in on
It has the clip, like
yeah,
the.
they're
Heard.
clicked in.
Heard.
So you can
Okay.
literally like yank on those cables and they don't come out.
Heard. That's fair.
Yeah.
Which is a pro and a con, because sometimes it will actually, if a shit happens, it'll rip the port out of the
Right,
camera.
it's actually worse. Yeah.
But to your point, I'm 50-50. I need to try it.
Yeah.
If the camera doesn't have a USB-C port on it, it's the dumbest thing ever. Someone's going to have to come out with a P-tap to USB-C.
But here's the thing, though. It doesn't even matter. This conversation is null. Because...
no.
Because in order for the DJI new LiDAR and Fizz system to work, it has to have that control handle hooked up to it. And then it has its own battery inside the control handle.
And a touchscreen.
So it's like an MDR, essentially. And you have to have that handle connected to the camera in order for the motors to work and for everything to work.
And it connects Bluetooth?
No, it's really interesting, and this is kind of why I'm like, I don't know about it. So if you get into their website on DJI and look at the new Focus Pro with the LiDAR Pro, is that what it's called?
Yeah, it's their new one.
Yeah. If you start actually like digging into it, so it's 2.4 gigahertz for the focus iris zoom control.
Wi-Fi.
Essentially Wi-Fi, yeah, same thing, and it's kind of what everybody uses except for Preston. And actually 2.4 gigahertz is what we use for RC controls too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's same frequencies. Everybody uses it.
Can you
Teradek
change the
uses it.
frequency?
I don't know if you can or not.
Okay.
It probably does some form of FSHS or FHSS hopping, frequency spectrum hopping. FSSH. There you go. So that way it can stay locked in. It's like Teradek does it. Like any RC car does like some kind of frequency hopping.
So the
that
DJI
way
transmitters
it
already
stays.
do it?
Yeah. So anyways, it does 2.4 for focus iris zoom control. But then if you want to hit record on your hand unit, your Fizz unit, and then you want the camera to record as well, that is Bluetooth.
Oh, I don't like that.
That's kind of dumb. So if you're on an Alexa,
say
or
your
Red,
Bluetooth to your Red for camera control on, say, an iPhone, would that disrupt the?
It doesn't connect to Red. So if you look at their compatibility right now, it's only DSLR cameras like
It's like FX3.
Blackmagic, FX3.
So
it's
when you
totally
work,
aimed for that lower budget world.
Not run stop. You can't do run stop on that.
I mean, yeah, you could move a wheel, but like you couldn't use camera control.
No.
Which is,
but
I'd say 20% of a bonus for an AC.
Right, but for $1,800, 18, 16,
Something. I didn't check a price point.
it's either $1,600 or $1,800.
It's under 2,000.
Yeah, under $2,000. Like, it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
What I did like about it, and I think this is dope.
It replaces a nucleus in a sense because half the time you
focus.
don't get run stop on a nucleus anyway.
I do on mine. They work.
Because you have the cable.
I bought all the cables.
I
Right.
don't.
Most
so
people
I
don't.
just rock it.
Yeah. What I do like with the DJI Focus is the LiDAR is like insanely good,
Yeah.
according to them. Like I obviously haven't tried it because it's brand new. So like LiDAR, which is cool, and then if you are in autofocus mode at any time, the knobs have motors inside of them. So if you're on your Fizz, this motor will move as your subject moves.
So it's not just
Around.
picking up where. So essentially, if you turned it on auto and then you went back to manual, it's not going to jump where you left your hand.
No,
unit
because the motor is physically moving
with it.
with the camera and your
We may have
your
to just
thing,
pick one up, but it does.
Yeah.
Won't even work with our camera, so we can't even use
and
it.
it's not worth it. So
But
anyways,
it's cool.
that's a cool thing.
So as a solo operator is definitely what they're aiming for. Because I noticed it also has
Does it
part,
work with
part of its
Komodo?
dummy. It works with like, I don't know about Komodo, but I know FX3 because it has a tap to focus feature. Like the little hand unit has a because there's two. There's like the hand pro unit,
Yeah.
and then there's like the handle that attaches on
That's
that works
like
with
the
this guy.
MDR.
Which
Yeah,
is like
and then that guy has a little mini screen on it that you USB-C into your DSLR.
It's like the handle of a new Ronin.
Yeah, basically, and then
Of
you
a
like are
RS4.
literally tapping on the little
Or
spots to
RS2.
tap to focus on this guy if you want to,
Yeah.
which is cool. And I'm like, eh. But what I actually do think is interesting and why I'm kind of interested in this piece of tech is you can decide that your gimbal joystick is a zoom stick instead of a left to right, instead of like a pan or
Yeah.
a tilt or whatever. You can tell it, you can program it to zoom in now with that zoom motor,
That's pretty
which
cool.
is cool because that was not a feature that was available
Yeah.
before.
Interesting.
You just had to like balance and then like and like F that. That was terrible. Like we needed a way to zoom our cameras from the gimbal. So I'm
Yeah.
really glad that they thought of that.
Yeah, that's cool. And then you can also like as those motors move now by themselves, as distance and things are changing. If at any time you need to take manual control over it, you don't have to push a button like you do on like Airy Fizz, right? Or the Preston. When you're doing that stuff, you have to push like the oh shit button to turn it off.
Oh shit.
Like with the DJI, you don't have to because the motors all move with real-time focusing distances, and so now you just grab the motor and be like, nope, I want you to go here, and it lets you do that. It's pretty cool.
I'm going to be that guy and be like, okay, this is all great, but we can't even use it.
Yeah.
Like, that pisses me off.
You can be that guy. This is what I'm saying. Like I
Like, that
love that
pisses
it's
me off.
Valid complaint.
I would buy that if it worked with our camera, but like it doesn't even work with our camera. And I'm going to be honest, cinema cameras are why you would use a Fizz unit most of the time. DSLRs, autofocus, Sony, they've crushed it. Why would you ever use that on a DSLR?
I'm with you. Yes, I 100% agree. I'm also going to be that guy that you have to look at it from DJI's point of view, which is
All that technology is already in the cameras.
drones. They're marketing this towards drones. They're marketing this towards people that are using the new, because they also.
But they're using Komodos and stuff on drones and Z cams and like small
Komodos
cinema
are
bodies.
reliable.
Sorry,
auto.
you're looking at the Inspire 3. This is compatible with Inspire 3, so you can pull focus on the Inspire 3.
Copy.
They're using this
Copy.
on the new
Okay.
RS4 that they just announced, because they announced a new handheld gimbal. That's what this is marketed for. And then also the DJI Ronin 4D.
Yeah, yep, your
Like,
4D.
I think DJI
That's-
needs to be careful by not building an infrastructure where you're fully locked in a DJI setup. And I only say that because if something goes wrong, you're limited on options to fix whatever your setup is.
That's true.
And if you're fully locked in on like your DJI Fizz unit, your DJI this, and then
Yeah.
your DJI that, well, this goes out on set, and I get it, they're marketing towards maybe lower end budget shoots, but like your Fizz goes out, you're not calling your rental house and saying, hey, I need a new high five.
Yeah.
You're screwed, and you're calling DJI support, and now you have to rebuild your whole setup.
And
Yeah.
that's part of like the rental game altogether, right?
Totally.
Like,
Contingencies.
yeah.
Anything can go wrong.
You know, and I
Yeah.
say this to ACs all the time that are like buying gear, right?
Which maybe that's why my mind goes to that.
Yeah, like you buy, let's say you buy a small HD 13-inch monitor, right? And you rent it to the production company, and somebody isn't paying attention, and they back up into your monitor. Your monitor falls flat, face first, on the ground, cracks the screen. Basically, it explodes, right?
Happened to my OC.
Yeah. So now the production is coming to you and looking at you and saying like, great, we broke your monitor. We're going to fix that. We need a monitor right now, though. What do we do? Do you have another one at home?
I have another one
Do
in
you have
my
a-
AC kit.
You have another one in your AC kit sitting
Yeah.
in there? You know, a 13-inch monitor or a small HD 13-inch monitor is $4,000.
No, I have it. Sorry, I have a backup 7-inch that'll get me through the day until I can find another 13 in
Right,
town.
but this was the client monitor, and the client still needs a monitor over there.
Then I would say you have an hour of no monitor, and we're sending a PA to pick one up at our local rental house.
Right. And so that's where I'm coming from, is it's like in these situations where it's like you buy gear, like you need to be able to buy gear that's backed up by a rental house.
Yes, yeah.
So that way when something breaks, when your monitor, small HD monitor, which everybody owns small HD monitors, you can go to the rental house.
So my answer backed up your point.
100%.
Yes.
You can go to the rental house and grab a monitor that's going to be exactly the same thing while yours gets fixed. Now, if
Yep.
you're using a DJI Fizz, and for whatever the reason, let's say USB-C port gets bent on one of the motors, and you don't have another motor because you only bought 3 of them, and so like, are you going to be able to go to the rental house and get a third motor because they have them there? Probably not, because what rental house are you going to rent an $1,800 or $1,600 or $1,800 Fizz from?
Yeah.
They don't stock that.
Well,
stuff.
to interrupt you a little bit, now you then have to pull apart your whole DJI ecosystem. You're now renting a 7-inch for you to pull focus on. You're now renting a high five. You're now renting da-da-da-da-da. So now you're charging the production an extra $7,000-$10,000 for the whole movie in rental gear because your DJI ecosystem went out.
Yeah.
The only rebuttal I will give to this is we have to watch Alex Garland's Civil War.
What does
It's
that
a
mean?
movie, A24. Movie just came out. Whole thing was shot on DJI Ronin 4D.
Oh, yeah.
8K.
Yeah.
The entire movie. Everyone used
Interesting.
DJI monitors for focus and for
Okay, but here's
the
the
gimbal control type thing.
argument
the
to that,
entire
though.
I'm just saying the entire production was shot on that movie. So let's go watch the movie. Let's go watch
Well,
the
no,
BTS
I
and see
agree
how
with-
their experience was.
I
Yeah.
agree with you, but here's the thing: on a production of that scale, when they're only using DJI, my guess is they probably bought one extra of everything.
Oh sure.
So
well,
if
I'll
on
take
set,
it even one step farther, because I've been involved with stuff like this. where there's probably a bigger budgeted movie on.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what
Very
the budget
large.
was. DJI sits there. They have DJI reps
Yeah.
on set.
Yeah.
And I've been there where like for drones when DJI was first coming out and starting to get big. Inspire 2, I was on a shoot and we were the first people to use the Inspire 2, and they brought in DJI pilots with all DJI Inspires to come and do the shoot for us. And so like on something that's of that scale, they probably had a bunch of DJI like
It's like
in-house
it's like the
people,
creator
techs.
with the FX3
Yeah.
type situation. Like there probably was support from the company in that scenario, which I am all about. Like if a production company and a cinema brand can like collaborate and like create new avenues in the market where it's like this was all done on our system. I think that's
great.
awesome.
Yeah, it's cool.
Having the support though, I think that's the biggest thing, is like taking that into consideration when buying gear and new things that are coming out. I mean, we kind of just did it through this podcast at the beginning. I'm like, let's buy it. Like if you would have said red, I probably would have bought it. If you're like, do it right now, I probably would have. Now we're getting into it enough and it's pointless because I don't have the backing. It wouldn't make sense as a first AC.
No, so like if you have like I'm gonna start with a Teradek RT and say that's probably the lowest that I would go right now as far as a fizz goes, because I feel like rental houses have those. But also, like I said, lowest.
Maybe a
Maybe.
nucleus though.
Maybe.
Maybe.
But here's the thing with a nucleus.
Maybe.
Dude. You could get on Amazon right now and buy a nucleus and have it delivered to your doorstep in an hour.
With the Prime, and
You know what I mean?
I'm with you. Or get on Marketplace and there's probably 15 people selling them.
You know, and so like, okay, I'll give you that. But as far as high-ender stuff goes, like a high five,
But screw the I just want to put this out there. Nucleus is don't
It's
use
dumb.
All my homies
no
hate
more
the
lens,
nucleus.
no more lens. It doesn't have lens mapping.
It's dumb.
If you're pulling focus on a nucleus, man, God bless you, because
Go away and come back.
so like you have a high five or a Preston, like if anything happens to any one of those units, you can go to rental house and find replacements, anything,
100%.
and you're good to go. And so I think it's just something to think about.
No, absolutely,
You know?
Absolutely.
Job security.
As
It's
you're buying
job
equipment,
security.
Gear
think
security.
about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think that's a really good point. And I think, honestly, that's something that these cinema companies really need to take into consideration, like Tilta and like these brands that are coming out with this stuff, is like there's the videographer world and there's the cinema filmmaking world. And, like, we're going to get to a point very quickly where there's a line in the sand. And it's like, this is for videographers and YouTubers, which we kind of are with, like, Rode and different brands. This is for cinematographers.
Yeah, and I think they are like drawing that line.
It's hard because a few
Kind
of them are trying to
of.
blend it, right?
Yeah,
Like
I mean,
a
I
few
feel
brands
like
are trying to
DJI
blend
is
it,
trying to blend it.
and it's
for
like, get out
sure.
of here, quit blending it.
Tilta with the Nucleus Nano 2, like they
Tilta
were
making
trying
V
to-
Raptor
Yeah.
and like high end cages and stuff. It's
Yeah.
like they're trying to get into that higher end market. To see Tilta stuff on set on a feature film,
Yeah.
you would never, right?
Never, yeah.
And now it's
The
kind of
Hydra
like,
arm and stuff. It's
Yeah.
yeah.
like
So
a
it's
little more
interesting.
reasonable.
It is
What I
interesting.
want to say, maybe what's
Quit
definitely
blending
been
it.
the case is there's always been the higher end cinema market. As long as there's been movies being made, there's always needed to be gear created for those people. Okay, so there's always been that market. Eventually, DSLRs and cheaper videographer shooters came around, right? So then there becomes kind of this lower end market. Now it seems like people are starting to create this middle market, this like
Yeah.
center of the Venn diagram. That's where it seems like a lot of companies are like, yeah.
Well,
and instead of, because I've kind of been seeing it as like one thing or two things, right? I'm kind of seeing it as like this third thing. There's like this middle ground area in the middle where companies are kind of targeting. Does that make sense?
100%.
Is that kind of- okay,
I
yeah,
totally agree.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, I agree, and I like it. And
Like,
I
I
don't
think
like
FX3
it.
is like kind of the brand boy for this like line of stuff. It's like
Yeah.
it's cinema stuff. It's not like a shitty DSLR, but it's obviously not an Airy either. Like this middle range type.
I guess the
too.
thing with
Yeah,
that
yeah.
would be like
Komodos
early
and
on in
that,
my
yeah.
career when I was stepping up from DSLRs and trying to shoot more cinematic, feely, storytelling pieces.
Yeah.
Getting hired for bigger projects where I wanted to look more the part.
Yeah.
I would say half of it was more to like look the part.
Yeah, totally.
Where it was like, I need a shoulder rig. I need
Yeah.
something that has a
Maybe a
lens
little
hood
matte
on
box
it.
on there. Make
Yeah,
me
a
look
matte
nice.
box, like,
Yeah, yeah.
I don't.
get a monitor out the side. Now I look like I have like a camera. And this isn't really your market because like you kind of miss the whole like
You've kind of stayed up here the whole time, Charles.
well that and
No.
like the social media boom of like I'm gonna say everyone's a filmmaker era
Mhm.
and like just buy a camera and you kind of are it kind of thing, that's all fading very quickly.
Yeah.
I don't know, dude. Like, I feel like this is my thing with the Ronin 4D, right? Like, I feel like
I hate that camera.
I do too.
I go outside and I want to strap a GoPro to my chicken's head.
I don't feel like
do it.
I don't understand how you feel like a filmmaker when you're like running around. Like, because I've seen people on like film sets with that dumb camera, and they're like, "Yeah, I'm a DP," and like, I'm sorry.
Charles and I send each other all the time on Instagram. We're like, what the fuck?
And
We're
I'm like,
look at this.
I'm like, you have like a Sony. Let's say you have a Sony FX9 or an FX10, and then you have like the DJI like chicken head, and
I don't even know the name. I just call it the chicken head.
it's the Ronin 40.
I know.
And I'm like,
Chicken head.
why wouldn't you just hire a Steadicam operator and put your like FX9 or FX10 on like a Steadicam instead of like being like, forget about that. I'm gonna use.
I'm gonna say it.
So
I'm gonna
budget
say
color
it.
pipeline.
yeah,
Well, no,
like-
budget sensor, Zen Moose, like.
Well,
Yeah.
no, it's those people. I mean, there was a point in my career where I had to do it, but it's people not being able to take a step back and genuinely say this to themselves: I can't afford this shot. I can't do this shot correctly. Now,
Or it's outside my scope.
right
Yeah.
now, is there a part of filmmaking to use what you have and the tools that
Totally.
you have to get
100%.
the best shot and the most creative thing possible? 100%. Now, is there something a little bit humbling about being a DP or director and looking at the situation saying, we can't pull that off properly to make it look like it should, so we're going to limit ourselves within our scope of equipment?
For sure.
Right? And I feel like the chicken head is like everybody's excuse to try to push the boundaries. Now we have a steady cam up all the time with me running around. Well, no, you don't. It's not a steady cam shot. The way that steady cam operators operate and angle a shot and the way they're pushing a shot, you're not going to do with that camera, and it's not going to look the same. It won't. Now there's that blend of like, okay, I only have $5,000, but I want to make something that looks $15,000, and then there's that blend of like, I have $5,000, I'm gonna shoot what should look like a $5,000 commercial. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Kind of. Maybe not.
No.
Yeah.
I'm picking up what
I
you're
don't know.
putting down. It's basically like you have to work within your means often as a filmmaker. And so taking a tool like a 4D, you're like, oh, cool. Like maybe this will push my means a little bit further, right? Maybe this will open me up in ways I really didn't think I could. That ultimately will fall flat because like this tool is like 10% of what Charles can do with the Trinity. It's like this is a semblance of what is really, really possible.
Could
So
you-
you're only
could
paying
you
homage
get the
to what that
idea
shot could look
across?
like instead of
Right.
doing it the right way.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know. I think.
Which, if you can't afford a Steadicam operator, like, I totally understand, you know.
But we'll look back at some of the music videos I shot and things that I've done back then when I wouldn't hire a Trinity. I'd use just a Ronin
Yeah.
and throw
Yeah.
like a DSLR on it and get some
even that,
Ronin
to
shots.
me, even that is better than the Ronin 4D, because you're using the same body with the same lenses.
Yeah.
You see what
You're not
where I'm
changing
going?
image
It's the
processing.
same
Yeah.
sensor with the same color pipeline.
I guess what
versus-
I'm trying to say though is with my personal projects, when I would shoot something like that versus when I would take the time and like budget accordingly and do things accordingly and be like, hey, this is what I can afford, and then we would shoot it properly with the tools, it would go 10 times further in the result.
Yeah.
Like our music videos where I'd have a $5,000 budget and I'd try to shoot it all on my DSLR with a Ronin and run around. First, when I'd bring in a steady op and bring in a gaffer and like maybe only shoot at one location because I can't afford the 10
Right.
locations with the $5,000 in my chicken head and run around and hang out the back of a car and try to get all these crazy shots with that. But if I took that $5,000 and had one location with a proper team, my overall look was so much more.
100%.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay,
is
okay, I
like,
hear you.
Yeah.
instead of just getting a chicken head, now I can do everything.
Right.
I guess is where I'm going with it.
Swiss Army knife that doesn't actually solve any problems.
Right.
Yeah. Instead of having a good screwdriver and a good knife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
All interesting things.
It's good stuff to think about and as you're buying gear and looking at like what you want.
Yeah. Cool. So something that stood out to me that's new and exciting, especially in the Steadicam world, is Tiffin just announced yesterday
Oh yeah.
that they have the new G70X2 arm. which is
Tiffany.
pretty rad. I don't know if you guys saw those or not.
I haven't seen it. But
I'm actually more into Steadicam stuff than you are. I don't know if you knew that.
Oh, that's
Yeah, I got all the stuff before you do.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
I love that. So what do you think about the new G70X?
yeah, tell us about that.
It's really dope the way that like it's like an arm. And what's
It
better
does.
about it from this version is that it's an arm, whereas the previous one was just like an arm.
It's like a limb.
Like a limb, yeah.
No, the new 2, it's a smaller form factor, so it's not as chunky like the G70X1.
So like the elbow on it's not sticking out as far.
No, that's kind of is what it is. They all are kind of that same. But like the bulkness to it. It's not as bulky, so it's more streamlined, kind of similar to the X1 series arms that are out there by Smart Systems. And then
What arm do you have?
I have G70X.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is the second version to what I have right now. And
Sorry, I'm asking questions as you're explaining it.
No, go
but
ahead.
do you see yourself upgrading to it?
when I have an extra $13,000 sitting around, yeah.
So hire Charles from where Trinity works so he can get a new arm.
Yeah.
Duh.
It's a win-win.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, there's not that much. You're not gaining that much by buying the new arm. So, like, if you're getting into a Steadicam, then I would say for sure buy the G70X2 because it's the new
It's the
hot and
newest,
sexy,
yeah.
right? And you're going to be with the latest. But, like, if you have a 1, unless you have the cash just sitting around, I don't know if it's worth the upgrade because there's not the benefits don't really outweigh the cost in my brain. Like, so the
Is
benefits
it going
are
to make your job that much easier every day?
not really.
Yeah.
Like maybe like 3%.
Which to me isn't enough.
Even if I went out there and said like 10%, like to me I don't know if dropping $13,000 for a 10% increase is worth it.
Is it just like weight efficiency or like what about it?
Same
improves
weight.
yeah.
It's a smaller form factor. They've done some things inside the spring to make so when you reach your high limit and your low limit, it has like a little bit more cushion to it.
Okay.
It's not like a hard stop
Not
like
cush.
it is.
Yeah.
On the
Is
on
the
the
tuning-
G70X.
Tuning still the same?
Tuning is exactly the same, but they've changed the layout for the knobs, so that way there's a little bit more space between the two. Because right now they butt up against each other on
Awkward.
the G70X, and then and they've given it a finer control. So now you have more twists per adjustment. So it's
okay.
more
Instead of three,
more range
instead of 3
to-
clicks, it's gonna be like 6 clicks.
Yeah,
6
so that way
turns
you
or-
can fine tune the arm a lot better. And
Interesting.
then they've done some things with the bearings on the front end, which to me is kind of whatever.
I've also seen Charles though, like he'll put the Trinity on, he'll shoot up, and they're like, "We're rolling," and he's like, "Just like hold it down and go get the shot real quick."
yeah, if
So
we change from heavy to light lenses or something, yeah.
at the end of the day,
But
at
it's
least from what
fast.
I've seen, I don't know how much that's gonna change your.
No, it's like, but the reason why I love the Tiffin, the G70X arm in general, is because they own the patent on what's called their isoelasticity, and the way the knobs are on there. So anybody, if you're not on a G70X arm or a Tiffin arm, they have to pull out the T wrench, right?
Oh.
And stick it in there, and they're like constantly adjusting the tubes, like on a GPI arm or the Smart Systems arm or any of the other arms out there, and it's because Tiffin owns the patent for having the knobs right there,
The like tension system.
the tension
That's
system,
sick.
yeah. And so like as far as making adjustments on the fly, like I can just sit there and go
Yeah.
crank, cool, we're good to go. Whereas other guys have to like get out their Allen wrench and like stick it in the hole and twist it, the bottom tube, and then stick it in the top tube, and then I gotta adjust this other.
Gotta
the
fix the
suction.
Iron Man suit a little bit before they can fly again.
You know, and I've seen operators just sit there and they just fidget with it nonstop, you know, because they're making adjustments all the time. And with the Tiffin arm, it's just like, I can make adjustments just as much as you do, as the other guys do, but like, I don't have to pull out this wrench and
You're so
like,
more
it's
nonchalant.
It's not a process. It's just like doop 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 doop. You know. And
Yeah,
like,
it is really seamless.
it's
watching you do it.
streamlined, like, and that's why I love it. And so now that they have a smaller form factor, it's even better. So that's a cool thing we'll see at NEB this year too. Cool tech.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how many people find those upgrades necessary. And I think companies, how many years was it from the X to the X1?
It was like 7+.
Beautiful. They
7+
did it right.
years.
about around.
I love that. Like, that's what I was just about to say.
Yeah.
Like, give it some years, guys. Like, just like we were saying with GoPro, we don't need that
You
shit
don't need
that
one
quick.
every
Like
year,
I can't
man.
even consume it fast enough. I can't use it. I can't. Like I don't have money for it. Like
Yeah.
it's like
I get that you got to come out with new products, but it's like the G7. This is what I'm saying. Like the G70X, like it's kind of a perfect arm already.
in 7
Like,
years there's
how do
barely
you-
any upgrades. Like,
Yeah,
that's
there's
pretty
barely
cool.
any
Yeah.
upgrades. Like, and how do you make something that's perfect better? And like they did it, and now we have the G70X2. And in my brain, I'm like, that's kind of the perfect arm. You know,
Yeah.
like if you buy that arm, you're probably good for the rest of your career.
And right now you're like 50-50 on it, but imagine if it had come out the year after you'd already bought your first one.
Yeah.
Then you'd be 100% no. Sign me out. I'm not here for that.
Yeah.
So yeah, like the pacing of when this equipment comes out is definitely. I mean, we've had the issue with Red, right? I feel like Red's dropping cameras way frequently. Like they're Apple these
finally-
days.
Every
you
3
know?
years,
Yeah,
man.
dude.
I'm
like-
convinced, but they're finally fixing it.
Yeah. Do you
That-
think Nikon's gonna help fix that, or
No, I think the customer base has been speaking out to Red enough to the point that when we were buying our camera and we talked to the rep, and she may have been blowing smoke, but I think she was serious.
Mhm.
She said that is our number one comment from consumers.
cool it,
That's
folks.
our number one thing being brought up with people buying the V-Raptor.
Oh shit.
And that's the thing we're taking into consideration going forward. So
Yeah.
I think Red will listen. I think, and this might kind of jumping
Can
away.
I hop out real quick?
Yeah.
I'm
Do you
sorry.
think-
I was supposed to be on a Zoom call.
Go do your thing.
No, you're good.
Charles has to work
Lame.
doing movies.
Yep.
Um,
I'll be right back.
But no, this is my prediction on Red. Genuinely,
Wait, was like.
this is my prediction on Red. Genuinely, I think, and there's a few other people that think this too. Shout out Graham. Red with the Nikon, I think will try to compete in the DSLR world.
Mhm.
I think they're gonna come out with a cinema DSLR. I think they're gonna try to compete with Sony and Canon.
Mhm.
I think Red's gonna. Whoever thinks Red and the Nikon collaboration is a bad thing, I think should look in the mirror and rethink being a filmmaker, because you need to do your research and your due diligence and realize that Nikon is one of the biggest camera companies in the world. They're one of the top dogs
Yeah.
all over Europe and Japan. They are huge, like
Concerts,
huge.
sports, wildlife. Like, there's so much respect to be put on Nikon's names that the memes make it seem like it's funny to talk shit, but the memes aren't reality. The
No.
reality is, this is a very respectable company.
Here's reality. A lot of people in the U.S. don't know cameras, and they think Canon and like the Sony DSLR world is everything and
Yeah.
is the market when there's so much more out
Sony
there.
showed me the light.
It's kind of like Z camera and like branching out, buying cameras from other countries that are just purely like, they're not big over here, right? Z-Cam is blowing up from that exact thing. You're getting like a $12,000 camera for $4,000.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to start seeing a lot more of that.
Hmm.
But with Nikon, I think there will be, a Red kind of cinema camera. It'll shoot some nicer stuff, but it'll mainly be a photography camera. I'm hoping just
So
like...
probably a hybrid.
Mhm.
Okay, but we definitely got stills capability in there from the
Focused
Nikon
on
side.
stills.
Yeah,
I think it's-
focus on stills.
labeled as Red.
Interesting.
I think they're going to try going into that world.
Do you think
This
Komodo
is
size
all-
or smaller?
This is all a prediction.
Yeah, right. Yeah, this is all. We're all just talking. Yeah, speculating.
So yeah, I think we'll see something like that come out. That'll be like the new hot thing. I mean, Red's already tried to push the boundaries, making a cell phone and different things. Which shows that like Jared and their company, they like having fun with the brand.
Yeah.
So I think that's really cool.
I'm curious. While we're in a speculative state, is there any? What other crazy gear might there be at NAB? Probably won't be. But what would in Scooter's world? What would we see at NAB?
I think you're gonna see a lot of companies from other countries getting bigger that are dealing with wireless communication.
Yep.
More
Yep.
specifically like monitors and like kind of like Teradek systems. I think people have been a little bit married to the Teradek company in the
Yes.
U.S., where I think we're going to start seeing a lot of wireless type systems come from other companies that
Yeah.
maybe haven't stepped into that market.
Like cinema quality transmitters.
Yeah.
Because there's like the Axoon and there's like the
Holylands coming out,
Holylands, you know, but I still think of those as DSLR, like mid-range
I think
level devices. I don't
either
think you want
those
to bring those on a
companies
set.
I think those companies are either going to step up and
Mhm.
create a cinema line of those,
Mhm.
or more brands are going to be coming out that are going to find that niche in the market.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm curious, what would be really cool is if we can find something that makes DMX, like, accessible. It's, like, easy. Instead of, like, cool, now I've got to go into the settings of every single piece of equipment I have, turn on this very specific thing, sync it all up with an iPad, see if that all works. Like, I just want a plug and play option. I want things to work really quickly out of the box. And I think seeing tube lights, seeing aperture lights, or seeing, like, whatever, like, seeing your lighting system work, that it easily connects to an iPad, they all sync up with each other, you can do your effects, and it's all done without a massive headache, without having someone that literally specializes in that, knows how to use the Blackboard app, and, like, I literally just want it to be more accessible and easier to do DMX and, like, interesting lighting effects and sync your lights together.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. A lot of these companies are coming out with their own apps and their own ecosystems to control the wireless communication, and then...
But then now everything's in its own box.
Well, I was about to say, if you have... Well, are you going to have an Aperture iPad, or, like, this iPad and a this iPad kind of thing? No, I think it'd be really cool to see something like that. But that's a little out of my wheelhouse, but it would be cool, like... I always see Benjo on his iPad just, like, doing his thing, controlling everything. I think it's cool as hell. But I also know that Benjo created his own app and his own system
to make that pipeline work,
and has his own wireless. He's really smart guy, and he's created his own little, like, attachments that go onto every light that allow him to talk to all of his lights.
That's literally exactly what, like you know, the wireless XLR adapters. You just, like, pop into the back of these Johns.
Essentially
like that, but on a DMX scale.
Essentially, that is what Benjo created. I don't know if he sells them or if it's his own thing or whatever, but he's a genius in that world.
Yeah, and that shows that us as the consumer had to do the innovation because the companies weren't willing to solve that problem first.
I mean, Charles has released on his story. I'm not going to talk about it because he's not here, but Charles has done the same with some technology that's pretty damn cool with his
exciting. We're having to solve
with
our
his
own
Trinity.
problems.
Yeah. So that is, I'd say, one of my favorite things about engineering type people in the film industry is seeing that all come together.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Any last thoughts, dude?
I wish I could be at NAB. If you guys are at NAB, let us know how it is, and I want to be at NAB.
Yeah, I definitely want to be at NAB. Feel free to go check out all of our previous podcasts. We just did an awesome one with some stunt people here in Utah. You're going to love that. Yeah, feel free to like and subscribe.
Thank you guys for watching. And again, as always, your support means everything to us. Peace out.
Bye.